Does body language prove Chris Hansen is lying to try to save his now disappointing career and keep his sleazy, quick cash grabs alive? Find out next. Welcome back to the channel, Shakers. Derek Van Shake here.
Derek Van Shake. Derek Van Shake. Why does that name sound so disturbingly familiar? Maybe because your secret screen name is I'm Shaking You? What do you mean by I'm Shaking You, Derek?
That's right, Chris Hansen. It's time for you to get shaked. You all surely know of the now 60-year-old Chris Hansen from the mid-2000s with his To Catch a Predator TV series on Dateline NBC.
How you doing? All right. Should you have a seat over in that chair, please?
What are you doing here? I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story.
And what was going on in their mind? Come on over here and have a seat, please.
It was intriguing and also seemed to provide a civic good. Whether it was technically entrapment and TV sensationalism, that's for people with law degrees to battle out. But Chris Hansen was at the top of his game then, and was even spoofed on South Park.
Why don't you take a seat?
Oh, I don't want to take a seat.
Have a seat.
No, I'm just gonna go.
Take a seat right over there.
However, that was until he got caught in an extramarital affair, sued for $105 million over the Texas district attorney's death, was fired by NBC, and then in January of 2019 was arrested for writing a $13,000 bad check. For what, you may ask? It was to buy his own promotional items. Yes, Chris Hansen was apparently crumbling financially, and in a last-ditch effort to make money, he was sadly trying to peddle have a seat t-shirts and mugs online. So what does a former TV host do when he's over $1 million in debt and the mainstream media doesn't want him back on their networks? Yeah, start a YouTube channel. He immediately amassed a substantial following because of his name recognition. However, his internet presence started to seem like it was just a cash grab to get some quick ad revenue and to promote scam offers. Now, with pressure mounting from other influencers exposing him, Chris Hansen decided to have a seat.
I will be the guest and I will take your questions as I have a seat for you.
To clear up what he defended as just one big misunderstanding. But was Chris Hansen lying to you to keep his cash grab schemes alive? We're gonna break down Chris Hansen's body language along with the evidence to finally reveal the truth. Now, let's get started.
There has been a lot of criticism and, quite honestly, a lot of misinformation being peddled by content creators. I know exactly where this is coming from, and I know exactly why.
As you all know, Chris Hansen speaks like a turtle, so we're going to cut out many of his ahs, ums, and pauses so we all don't die of boredom.
Let's talk about this John Cressani situation.
Some call John Cressani a scam artist. Chris Hansen has been known as the voice of justice.
What's going on?
So it was quite eyebrow-raising when the two started working together.
Occasionally, I will do video projects that are a little different than the traditional journalism I've done.
At this moment, when Chris talks about working with John Cressani, he leans back in his chair with his arms crossed, indicating defensiveness and some insecurity. Surely because he's now being outed for seemingly using his name anywhere he thinks he can make a quick buck.
So one of the content creators said it was a scam. But it's a scam because they said it was a scam.
That's not the case, Chris. There's real evidence.
A new breed of criminal looking to make a quick buck at your expense. This is Scam Report.
That's right, Chris Hansen is the face of an internet company called Scam Report. And it seems to be the home where Chris Hansen promotes his very curious products. Look at his company's website. This tactic is commonly referred to as inoculation in psychology and marketing. Ever get an email that says in the subject line, "This is not a scam"? What do you automatically assume? Right, it's a scam. The best way for scammers to promote their scam product is to make you think they are the biggest scam fighters.
Just because it's marketed as free and easy and it can make a ton of money, don't just fall for any shiny object that's thrown your way.
It's to give people the perception that they are the good guys, should be trusted, and they couldn't possibly scam you. Legitimate products don't need to announce everywhere that they're not a scam because they come across as legitimate and not a scam. Let's look at Chris Hansen's debt relief secrets offer. Isn't this a little ironic since we recently heard that Chris is over $1.5 million in debt? And look at this product Chris is promoting with John Cressani. Salaries in America are decreasing every single year. You need to add way more to your current salary to increase your quality of life. Chris Hansen, what are you doing supporting this ridiculous get-rich-quick scheme? Stop trying to create your own path as an entrepreneur. You will fail. Here are more real results from people just like you.
But he's helped a lot of people with his projects.
Did you notice any possible deceptive body language? Watch again.
But he's helped a lot of people with his projects.
Yes, when Chris was defending John Cressani, we suddenly noticed him giving a self-comforting hand massage, a slight stutter
With his projects.
pulling his cheeks back a bit and showing his bottom teeth, and looking away out into the distance, which together in that body language cluster indicates massive uncertainty, that he doesn't fully believe what he's telling you. He's being deceptive. Therefore, Chris seems to know the truth about John Cressani.
We'll meet an expert in the field of home-based businesses.
For every legitimate work-at-home opportunity, there's probably 100 scams.
By quick money, it's gonna be
Let's go to my computer so you will promote my product.
So who would use such blatant deception to pad their own bank accounts?
Amount of money in one day online, personal Facebook. You're using your social networks. What you're doing is you're selling to friends and family.
You should spend a couple minutes looking up the company, looking up the founders, looking up who you're going to be working for.
Make a post, say, hey, here's a free training which taught me how to make money online.
Check it out.
$10,000. This is what's called a whack. Create an email and you send that email to every person
You've ever talked to.
Send out 400 emails.
That internet money.
It's going to ask you for
Your banking information.
no matter what, you're going to have to enter in your
Social security number.
Your best defense is common sense. For Scam Report, I'm Chris Hansen.
Is there anything Chris Hansen won't say for a buck?
Her screen name is @ValeriePlame. Valerie Plame, I'm gonna need you to have a seat right over there. And you won't believe what she's doing now.
I'm running for Congress.
Congress?
Congress?
Nope. Chris Hansen will apparently say anything for money. He even does political smear commercials. What reputable journalist would soil and sell out their good name by hosting a political smear commercial like that? Any public figure who constantly sells out would start to experience backlash from their fans and following, which is exactly what Chris Hansen is experiencing now. He's selling out his long-term future for a quick cash grab and is becoming known as the man whose words don't mean very much because he'll say anything for money.
You are now on the front lines in a battle against a predator called COVID-19, coronavirus.
That's right, in March of 2020, COVID-19 was in full focus by the mainstream media. Chris Hansen, of course, jumped on board with many video interviews, including one that seemed to be a promotion of a very curious product with an outrageous claim. Watch and see if you think anyone was deceptive.
I thought it was interesting that the surgeon was a medical director for a company, Nano Vapor Biotech.
And not only does it immediately kill the virus, it will kill the virus that comes into contact with that surface for up to 70 to 90 days.
70 to 90 days.
This disinfectant supposedly lasts 70 to 90 days? The doctor's body language appears deceptive, of course, with nervous fidgeting, tight-lipped smirks, etc. But what do you think about Chris? Watch again and notice his congruent reaction to the doctor's outrageous claim.
Kill the virus that comes into contact with that surface for up to 70 to 90 days.
70 to 90 days.
This nanovapor biotech product was not at all the focus of the interview at all. It was buried about 2/3 into that boring hour-long interview where fewer people would hear about it. And they only talked about that product for a few minutes. If it were a paid advertisement, we would expect it to be brought up much earlier on in the interview and talked about longer. Also, yes, Chris's reaction to the outrageous claim is actually congruent, showing signs of skepticism on his face with heavily furrowed eyebrows, a little inquisitive head tilt, along with an inquisitive, confused, and even slightly challenging vocal tone.
70 to 90 days.
And here is when he addresses the claim. See what you think.
Somehow there was this misperception created that this was a paid endorsement. This was something I thought was interesting. It was not a paid sponsor on the show.
Right, we don't notice any body language clusters of deception. And combined with what we know about the interview and his congruent body language during the interview, it probably wasn't paid. However, Chris never seems to want to admit any wrongdoing, so watch him deflect.
It does disinfect surfaces.
Really, Chris? Disinfectants have been around for over 100 years. There are many disinfectants on the market, but they don't claim to do it for 90 days.
Kill the virus that comes into contact with that surface for up to 70
to 90 days.
Chris is just deflecting with what the product can do because he doesn't want to admit any wrongdoing of allowing that apparent scam doctor on his channel.
And this is approved by the government, by the FDA?
Yeah. This is an FDA-approved product. You're going to hear a lot of
snake oil sales,
but we really need to stick to scientific evidence.
We've all heard the expression, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
You know how some people are just gullible? Well, that's Chris Hansen. Being gullible is usually not a major problem for most people. But when you're an investigative reporter and people rely on you to be inquisitive and critical, yeah, it becomes a real problem.
Who is Anonymous Gene?
It's suspected that Chris Hansen knows this Anonymous Gene, who seems to do Chris Hansen's bidding of getting dirt on suspects. See if you think Chris Hansen's body language is deceptive, and then we'll break it down.
And why is he working for you? Well, this seems to be one of the questions of the hour. I do not know who Anonymous Gene is. I do not know who Anonymous Gene is.
Yes, a few indicators of deception, which formed a small cluster. First, Chris tries to give a convincing head shake, but winds up subconsciously transitioning it into an incongruent head nod. We also notice a subconscious eyebrow flash, along with the start of a duping delight smirk while trying to hide it by looking away, indicating he seems to know who the person is. Notice his duping smirk builds as he continues talking, while we also intertwine some additional evidence proving his deception.
Again, I don't know who Gene is. I don't know whether it's a man, whether it's a woman. I would tell him not to do a lot of the things he's done. Whether it's a group of people, what his actual motivations are, I don't know. I have no control over him. For anybody to say that he does my bidding, it's just not true.
Yes, he definitely seems to know who Anonymous Gene is. And notice how Chris gets stuck in between pronouns? Very typical of a liar.
He does what they do, whoever he is. What were your motives in selling the Onision story?
If you're unfamiliar, Onision, or James Jackson, is a famous longtime YouTuber. He's recently got a lot of attention for his numerous fake crying fits and has been accused of some terrible things. Chris Hansen,
I'm Chris Hansen,
was covering the story on his YouTube channel by basically just interviewing anyone who has ever heard of Onision. More on that later. Chris wasn't doing real investigating or conducting sting operations. Instead, he was acting like those slow-moving network news channels that repetitively cover the same story night after night with just a different guest. Even though Chris's coverage on Onision was slow-moving, his viewers were interested to see it all play out on his YouTube channel. However, news broke that Mr. Mainstream Media sold it to network television.
Well, I didn't sell the Onision story.
Television has the potential to take this to a wider audience and to increase the potential that we will see justice here.
A larger audience doesn't really have much to do with justice being done. Clearly, Chris sold his rights to the Onision story, but didn't want to come clean to his audience about the facts. So listen closely to the words he uses to try and deflect using a technicality.
You just don't take a story and sell it. It's just not how it works.
Yes, Chris says it's impossible to outright sell a story you don't own. And Chris is correct, because Chris Hansen doesn't own the story as a whole. But what does Chris Hansen own? Yes, he owns his telling of the story. That's what he can sell, seems to have sold, but just doesn't want to admit it.
Whether or not we continue past YouTube on any of these things is something that we'll take a look at the appropriate time.
Chris Hansen is such an old guard, old school news reporter and seems to look at network television as the major leagues where the big money is, and seems to be using YouTube as a way for him to springboard back into network television. What Chris doesn't seem to understand is that times have changed, and if you have a big YouTube channel, you're in the major leagues.
I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a reporter who has a YouTube show.
And for him to say, I'm not a YouTuber, just shows his antipathy for the YouTube platform. Kind of like, I'm not like you all. I'm a real corporate elite establishment news reporter. Who would want that title? Apparently Chris Hansen does. As you all know, I love being called a YouTuber. I'm proud of what we're doing on this channel. And for Chris Hansen to put down what most would consider a dream job, it's just sad and apparent that he's a corporate elite establishment media drone.
I think that at some level, there's frustration on some content creators' part. They couldn't advance the story as much as I did because I have a background in journalism and in television and the ability to garner a larger audience.
Oh, really, Chris Hansen? You think you're being attacked by content creators because they're jealous of your mainstream media news reporting skills? Only a corporate media drone like you would put out boring interview after boring interview on your YouTube channel and call it value.
I believe that I was able to take it to the next level, go out to Washington State to knock on the door.
One thing he does have, though, is name recognition, which made Onision's 911 call hilarious.
911, what are you reporting?
Hi, there's a person who's been stalking me online, and they just showed up to my house. I didn't see any weapons. I just saw like 6 guys in my driveway, and one of them is knocking on my door.
And the one that's knocking on your door, is he the main one that you said has been stalking you?
Yes.
Okay, and do we know his name at all?
It's Chris Hansen.
How much research do you do for stories?
There's been a lot of speculation that Chris Hansen would interview just about anyone, as long as they'll say something dramatic that would give him a quick cash grab. Such as this lady who never met Onision, but somehow got obsessed with hating him when she first saw him in a YouTube thumbnail image. Watch.
Holly Hayes has a site called onisionhurtspeople.tumblr.com.
And one girl, he told her he looked like Shrek, and we never heard from her again.
Well, I do a lot of research.
I log on YouTube one day. It's a thumbnail of Shiloh and some guy standing beside her. Every hair on my body stood up on end.
There are a lot of folks who just don't make the cut.
I could feel the darkness coming off of him.
There are a lot of folks who just don't make the cut.
I could tell he was just completely hollow as a human being.
Check backgrounds.
An unbelievable number of victims who are like,
oh my God.
He reminds me exactly of my ex.
There are some people who have come forward and claimed things, and I could never verify it, but they'll never be on the show.
When you say starve yourself to death, people didn't actually die.
No, they died.
Thinspiration.
Thinspiration stands for thin and inspiration. You look at a picture of a really, really thin woman, and he'd use it as thinspiration. I think he should go to prison for the rest of his life. And I think his wife should too.
Thinspiration is part of her reasoning for wanting to put Onision and his wife in prison for life? I have no idea what's really going on with the Onision story. I just know he used to throw fake temper tantrums in videos because some of you asked me to analyze the body language on those to see if they were real or if it was just bad acting. But everything with Chris Hansen seems to be for the quick buck by keeping the Onision story going, getting some easy views on a topic that already has viewers' interest.
Sarah's laptop and cell phones. If you see anything in there that is evidentiary, stop. Don't mess with it. Just give it to authorities.
Oh yeah, and Mr. Lifelong Investigative Reporter has been accused of single-handedly ruining the Onision investigation. Hansen apparently advised one of Onision's most notable alleged victims to not send her electronic devices over to law enforcement, but instead to send the evidence directly to him and his tech guy to tamper with it, and surely for him to search through to gain extra insight for his YouTube channel, which then, of course, is to make additional content on it, which is another cash grab.
My Cameo videos. Now, Cameo, if you don't know, is a service where people can buy a video, a message.
Charles Carroll, Vice President Joe Biden, Derek Van Sheek. Why does that name sound so disturbingly familiar? Why does that name sound so hauntingly familiar? Have a seat. Take a seat right over there. Derek, I'm going to need you to have a seat right over there. Been going through some transcripts. Derek. I see some very suspicious activity. It's a sort of behavior that could land you in a dark kitchen being interrogated by me. Did you really think it was okay to sniff the hair of that young girl? Do you think it's appropriate to look at feet pics during a pandemic? Stop it now. You're gonna need to get some help. Day and night in your room watching YouTube channels, racing around town in your Lamborghini, taking young women for rides. Don't be a butthead. I hear you've gotten into the Epstein pilot program. In the meantime, I'll be watching you.
A couple prank requests came through.
You also need what's commonly known as a BS detector.
Surely this former Dateline NBC Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist has one of those BS detectors, right?
What do you mean by I'm shaking you, Derek?
Well, maybe not at all. Also, watch this.
One of which involved something called the Escobar cell phone.
Hey guys, Chris Hansen here of Hansen vs. Predators, and to catch a predator, I just wanted to tell you all that I've seen this amazing new smartphone called the Escobar Fold 2. It appears to be the best phone out right now. I've been looking at the transcripts. So have a seat, check it out, and remember, I'll be watching.
Doesn't Chris Hansen remind you of Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, who would say anything as long as it's in his teleprompter?
From the entire Channel 4 news team, I'm Veronica Corningstone.
And I'm Ron Burgundy. Go f*** yourself, San Diego.
Chris is this former old-school mainstream TV reporter. And if you notice, he seems to just focus on how he's saying everything and doesn't put much thought into what he's saying. Now in this next part, watch for Chris Hansen's deflection.
Some content creators tried to make this look like somehow I backed a real product. I backed Pablo Escobar. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
Right, he's again amplifying the accusations against him and then denying those amplified allegations against him. A very common strategy to try and deceive. Most understand that Chris Hansen is not this big supporter of Pablo Escobar, but we're constantly noticing him using his name, face, and voice to say anything for a quick buck. So Chris Hansen, the real question is, how did any semblance of your BS detector not alert you that this could be a scam product that you would be supporting? Or did you just not care because you wanted to make that little cameo video so you got paid your $50? Yeah, Chris Hansen's quick cash grabs are very distasteful and deceptive to all of us because we all knew him as an investigative reporter who was supposed to be all about justice. And we now find that he seemingly uses his reputation to support any scam or shady product that comes along. What he doesn't seem to understand is that as a media personality, his reputation is everything. By selling that out like he's doing, he'll get some quick cash flow for now, but he's quickly eroding away his reputation, and soon those quick cash grabs won't be available anymore because no one will want to hear him say anything because he'll be known by everyone as the guy who's willing to say anything for money. There's so much more we can cover on Chris Hansen, along with the behind-the-scenes detail of that cameo video he made for me. That will all be on my More channel. So remember to subscribe to my More channel so you don't miss out on that extra insight. Give this video a thumbs up if you think Chris Hansen was disappointing. Give this video a thumbs down if you think Chris Hansen wasn't disappointing at all. Now in the comments, what do you think of Chris Hansen's quick cash grabs? Let everyone know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss out on new body language and investigative videos.
I'll be watching you.
That always seem to shake up YouTube. And I'll see you at the top.